Hey, YouTube. I was just talking to my cat. I might give my auntie a call. My auntie's the only one who really chats with me on the phone anymore. My son doesn't like talking to me. My husband, I don't like talking to my husband. Well, he's not my husband. He's my ex-husband. So weird. And I've only been married once, and I've only been divorced once. I only have one child too. One, one child, one husband or ex-husband. Anyway, marriage is so cuckoo. It's a very cuckoo thing because it's like you get married, you don't think you're going to get divorced when you get married. I don't care where you got married. If you got married in the church or in the park or in Las Vegas, most people when they get married, they don't get married thinking, well, I'm going to get divorced tomorrow. Anyway, I wrote in a lot of my journals. I got 12 years official, you know, marriage before we divorced. But when you think of the person that you married, you always kind of think of them as your wife or your husband because even though you signed divorce papers, you got into the habit. And by common law, see, there's no divorce for common law. There's no divorce for common law. So if you call your ex, if you still call them wife or husband, you know, don't beat yourself up about it. It might not be official. It might not be registered by you know church and state. It might not be official, but common law. After 10 years, you get to call them wife or husband forever. After 10 years, anyway, and I think this is why the Mormons and the Muslims talk about polygamy because of divorce. I mean, see, Christians and Catholics, we have such a hard time with it. It's monogamy, one, only one. Well, I think the majority of people know what it's like, for things not to work out, for irreconcilable differences to occur. And I mean, this is why great philosophers and scribes have written books like The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. It's not just, about God and the devil. I mean, in the big picture, yes. But, on a personal level, you know, there's a lot of terminology that is emotionally confusing. And this happened to me this morning. I went to get a coffee and a pack of cigarettes, and I was thinking about getting a job. I went to the job employment place the other day. I'm looking for a job. I'm broke. I mean, yeah, I can afford to get my coffee and cigarettes, but that's about it. That's how broke I am. I'm just saying I'm grateful and lucky that I can get a coffee and a pack of cigarettes. That's it. That's all I got. You know. Besides that, mm, I sit here and make these videos because that's all I got. Um, eh, but I think a lot. That's what happens when you're bored and when you don't have a job. A taxing, demanding job like 40 hours or even part time or somewhere where you got to be. Something that reminds you what day it is. You all you do is sit around and think, talk to yourself, talk to the walls, talk to the cat. There's nothing to do because you don't have to be anywhere. It's liberating in one way, but the mind, they say the being idle, that's the devil's playground. It's a cliche, right? It's not. It's not false. Oh, the devil wants to fuck with my head all the time. All the time. But I was thinking about Moses this morning. Look, I am not a Bible expert, okay? Just because I was raised Catholic does not make me a Bible expert. I'm sure there are many other theologians who can quote the Bible word for word. I can read, send me to any chapter, point anything out, I can read. But I'm not the expert on that book. I've tried to tell people I paid attention to certain chapters. I paid attention to the beginning, I paid attention to the end, and I paid attention to basically what my mother told me to pay attention to, Moses and Jesus. So if Moses said it, I probably read it. If Jesus said it, I probably read it. As far as all the other stories go, I've probably witnessed it. Um, anyway, I was thinking about Moses because there's this Wicca is a religion, and it's not like there's one book on Wicca. Mm, that's what I mean by a la carte. The a la carte society. We pick and choose things, and that's because of secular education. We have the past. I'm 54, so I'm going to say the past 50 years, to my witnessing, that is the society's mentality, a la carte. We were bred and trained to think a la carte. The library's full of books. Pick any one you want. The TV's got lots of channels. You don't like that show? Change the channel. The buffet. You don't want steak? Have some broccoli. A la carte. Whatever you want, right? That's our society. It's not a bad thing. It's good. I think it's a good thing because that's what, in my opinion, that's what God wanted. He wanted us to have free will. And so it's not bad that it's a la carte because all those choices gives us free will. Okay. But, uh, you know, it gets confusing, all these choices. I mean, what kind of car are you going to drive? What kind of job are you going to have? Who's going to be your spouse? Oh, oh my God. You get so terrified, of making the wrong choice. You don't make a choice at all because it seems like whether you choose this one or this one, you're going to walk right off the cliff. It gets scary. It's not that you don't have free will. You had the free will to choose not to choose. And sometimes that's all you can do because of fear. Anyway, when I was thinking about Moses, I was thinking about civilization. Um, you know, because of Wicca. I mean, some people will say, "Well, you said you were a witch." So did my mother. But we're both Catholic too. How can you be a Catholic witch? How do you know that the nuns weren't witches? How do you know? You don't believe in nuns. You never saw a nun. Never saw a nun? It's just a Halloween costume, right? What about? Do you ever see the musical Sound of Music? Maria, she was a nun, and then she got married, and they were singing in the mountains. Oh, never mind. Look, I don't want to talk about nuns right now. I'm trying to talk about Moses and civilization and Planet of the Apes. You know, Charles Darwin. Well, what kind of conversation would Charles Darwin and Moses have? That'd be an interesting conversation. I'd like to break in on that conversation. Charles Darwin and Moses. I would love to hear that conversation. I want to see. You know, Charles Darwin and Moses sitting in a movie theater watching all of the Planet of the Apes movies, all the sequels and everything. What would Charles Darwin and Moses say about all the movies, Planet of the Apes? Wouldn't that be an interesting conversation? No, it's just because there's a lot of panic. There's a lot of edgy people. I feel it as an empath. I feel it uh, as a as an as an American, as a citizen, as a human monkey. I feel it. Uh, so worry. There's a lot of people worried. They're worried about the economy. They are worried about jobs. They're worried about their family. They're worried about sicknesses and medical attention. They're worried about everything. We're worried. We're edgy and worried. And usually it's just like, usually it's just That's just some paranoid female, just being silly. No, it's in the air. You can feel it. I mean, if you're empathic, you can definitely feel it. People are edgy. It's not just people cussing because they're having a bad day. Mm-mm. There's an edginess in the air. It's worry. And what are we worried about? We have things to worry about. I worry about it every day. I have nothing to do. I don't have a million distractions to so that I don't think about the big picture. I wake up at 6 a.m. I go to bed at 10 or 11 p.m. This is if I'm having my normal daily flow, and all those waking hours I'm idle. I try to keep myself busy so that I don't have to sit here and think and think and think about big picture stuff that doesn't even seem like I have anything to do with it. I'm just an ant, one little tiny ant in a colony of ants. You know, that's how small I feel sometimes, and it's not just because I'm shorty 5'3". And I just feel small and insignificant because you go out there in the city, or and you see a million cars and a million buildings, and or you drive by a festival where there's 1,000 people, and you just feel like a speck of dust. Or you go for a long road trip, and you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars from state to state, highway to highway, and city to city, and all these people. I'm just a speck of dust. I'm nothing. But then again, when I sit here in this chair and just think and think and think about things all day, it's like I'm thinking about the whole globe and the big picture, not just city, not just country, and not just borders, but people in general. People, not races, the race, the whole human race. Black, brown, purple, yellow, green, every color. It's overwhelming. You know, there's been movies that have depicted this deep pensiveness, this world on your shoulders feeling. There have been movies that have depicted the panic and the worry and the you know Armageddons and apocalyptic. And there's books and all this kinds of shit about it's the end of the world every day. It's the end of the world. Ugh. And then the sun rises again in the morning, and we either go through the day saying "fuck it," I'm not going to think about it, or we don't have anything else to do but think about it. I was thinking about civilization. A couple years ago, I was making jokes about the word civilization. I don't know. It just seemed like a good word to make a joke about. Civilization. See, ants. I like to talk about the ants because they, it's like alligators, a congregation of alligators, a colony of ants. Mm, mm. See, when you talk about cats and dogs, it's a pack of wolves, like a gang, right? Or, you know, a herd of elephants or a herd of cows, sheep, whatever. And it's not a pack, you know. I don't know, I'm just saying. The only thing that really sounds like civilization sounds like colony of ants or congregation of alligators. The other creatures don't really have, as far as I know, they might. It doesn't seem like they really have parallel terminology towards a conversation about civilization. So there's one. There's an interesting thought. Ants, alligators, and monkeys, which we're supposedly like closest to as far as animal form, right? We're closest to the monkeys. So The humans, the monkeys, the ants, and the alligators sit down in a drum circle. The ants can't play the drum. The alligator can, maybe tap the drum with his tail, and the monkeys and the humans sit there and play the drums. And then they start talking about civilization. What would they say? Well, maybe they would say what I want to say right now. You know, there are bricks, and there's the building bricks of civilization that are not in the regular natural world. Uh, it's houses and apartments, cars and roads, uh, um, stores, restaurants, uh, and gyms, you know, public public places that are not in the woods. What's in the woods? Animals and trees and plants. That's not Those are not the building blocks of civilization. That's not civilization. That's earth. That's nature. Trees and plants and animals. That's earth and nature. Mm, Rivers and water. That's also, the building blocks of civilization. Civilization is not, well, animals and plants and water and all that. That's nature. Civilization is the cars, the sidewalks, the roads, the houses, the apartments, the stores, the restaurants, the parks, the public, the bench, the basketball court. That's civilization. Now, there's a big conversation, mm, about weapons. Mm. Jonathan Swift in Gulliver's Travels. He was one of the authors that I studied in college. And I had read this article that stated that when Jonathan Swift was making some commentary about guns, that he thought it was an invention from the devil. So I wrote about it too, and I kind of agreed with him that it probably was an invention from the devil, but you could say the same thing about a hammer or a wrench or an axe. You could say that that was an invention of the devil too. But see, that's what I say. What made us different from the other animals? The monkeys and the humans had these hands, these fingers. We could hold a tool. You know, most animals can't do that. The monkey can. The monkey can do that. But paws, paws can't use this tool. Talons can't use this tool. Separated us, the monkeys. We got separated from the other animals because we can use tools. Mm, and that's how we built civilization. It is the planet of the apes. If you incorporate religion and science together, if you say Charles Darwin's theory of evolution was not sacrilegious or anti-religion, if you say that, if you see how close to the monkeys we are, the only thing that separated us from the other animals was tools, and of course ethics and morals. Because mm, why would a cat give a shit if you call uh, you that that piece of grass your piece of grass? If he wants to eat that piece of grass, that cat's gonna think, you know it was there. There's no concept of Moses stealing. The cat doesn't know what the hell you're talking about, right? If he wants to eat the grass, he's going to eat the grass. It's not your grass, it's God's grass. There's deep shit. A lot of deep shit. Where's the Planet of the Apes? Hmm. Tools. Is this my lighter? What made it my lighter? My name's not on it. Do I have a name? What made that my name? Is my name human? Monkey? I don't know. Deep shit. It's deep.